we're going to move on to the Hornets, unfortunately, in our segment called the 10th pick. Yaron Weitzman, the Bleacher Report, wrote an article basically stating that we're kind of screwed if Kemba stays or if he goes. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? I have my feelings. What do you guys think?
All right, what do you got, Jamal? What do you got?
More Hornets gloom and doom. What a shock by national media. Listen, Mr. Whatever your name is, man. Conventional wisdom tells us that the Hornets would want to resign Kemba Walker. And here's why, man. The national guys don't, we always wonder whether they really pay attention to the Hornets or not. And the one thing that this article didn't really go in depth with is what happened towards the end of the season.
True.
With the young guys. And I think that is going to be probably a very valid selling point, but it's also probably going to be a very necessary selling point from Mitch Kupchak. Now, in regards to the article, they're screwed if they do, they're screwed if they don't. If I'm Mitch Kupchak and I'm Michael Jordan, I'm asking myself, what am I more screwed by doing? Am I more screwed by letting them go, or am I more screwed by signing them? Me personally, you're more screwed by letting them go. Now, granted, this might be fanboy UConn Hornets person talking. I will be the first to admit that. However, you take a look at what happens if you let Kemba Walker go and what happens to this already impatient, on-edge fan base. That is not being talked about enough, man. You know what I mean? There are so many of our fans who like, man, let them go, start over, tank, blah, blah, blah. But how many of those fans are going to pay for tickets to go to games?
Right, yeah.
And I've always said to people, you let them go and you're fake happy for them winning, whatever. But are you going to pay for tickets, and are we going to end up as the Seattle Hornets? Because that's there's something to think about.
No, Mike, I doubt they leave.
No, look, I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying I don't want that to be. I don't want it to be a possibility.
I don't want to hear anybody talk about it on First Take.
Yeah,
right. And the thing is, as a fan, I don't want to go to games with a half-empty arena every single game, man. Yeah. And more importantly, back to basketball stuff, back to those young guys. I find it interesting that the Hornets are doing this little off-season marketing thing where it's Kemba and the Avengers being the young guys, because they know that has to be the selling point.
Yeah.
Last point I'm going to make is these articles like this are always going to be gloom and doom because they want clicks and they want people to jump on board the narrative. But I said this in the previous episode, and I'm going to say this again, man. We will know more about the state of Kemba Walker and the state of this team around draft time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of crazy things that happen around draft time. Mitch Kupchak, I have faith that he will work his magic and work something out that will make it more attractive for Kemba, and we can stop looking at gloom and doom articles from Bleacher Report.
Okay, so I kind of agree with the article.
Me too.
I agree with the premise of the article, and I think what the fan base is getting caught up too much in is we're looking at the headline, and everyone is looking more so just at they're taking that as get rid of Kemba Walker, and this fan base is so emotionally invested into Kemba Walker. I don't think they look at the numbers or how the moves will affect the team going forward. And I've said this in groups that we're in. I've said this on the show. If we lose Kemba Walker, if Kemba doesn't stay, this 39-win team possibly becomes a 29-win team, or maybe a 19-win team.
I'd say close to 19.
It would be a worse team.
Yeah.
On the bright side, if Kemba Walker leaves or doesn't come back, doesn't sign, we have a hell of a lot of money to sign whoever.
Technically, we don't.
Okay, which will bring me to the flip side of that argument. If we sign Kemba Walker to that super max contract, or whatever the max amount is, whether it's 190 or 221, because Charlotte has to roll out the Brinks truck for him. If we sign him, we now pigeonhole ourselves into really not bringing anybody else in.
But how much? Because now nobody wants to hear this, but here's a fact though. Not the season coming up, the next season, you got a whole bunch of money coming off the books. That makes it a lot better than the situation we're in now. But how patient or impatient is Kemba Walker, the fan base, the management, whatever? Are we looking at this like, man, we just need to wait one more season to get these bad deals?
Let me ask you this. You're Kemba Walker. You've been here, eight seasons? You've been there 8 seasons. You've gone to the playoffs twice. You've been on the infamous 7-59 season. You haven't made the playoffs in 3 years. You're due for a huge payday.
Right.
You want to win now.
Of course.
You will be 30 next year. How do you receive your boss telling you, hey, bro, I need you to deal with this losing for 1 or 2 more seasons?
But here's another thing. Like, keep in mind, I'm not saying this is some kind of, I'm not saying this is a major selling point, but keep in mind, man, we were 1 game out of the playoffs last year. And here's another thing. Here's another selling point I would make. We're 1 game out of the playoffs last year, right? And I want y'all to really think about this. From Indiana down, like the top 5, and then there's everybody else. Orlando, Detroit, us, Miami, Brooklyn. Is there really a lot of separation between us and those teams?
Not at all.
You know what I mean? And I hate to sound like a broken record, but again, I just cannot stop thinking about the end of last year and those young guys. It's just like, yeah, the numbers don't look good at all. It's like, man, I'm like approaching luxury tax. But at the same time, man, it's just like one little tweak of this roster could mean us being 9th seed all the way up to 6 or 5 next year.
Let me ask you this, and I know me and Jamal are kind of still in this conversation.
And I'm shut up.
Let me ask you this. Considering what happened towards the end of the season last year, do you think if Kemba Walker comes back, do you think Borrego starts those young guys at the beginning of the season?
He has to.
If he likes being a head coach in the NBA, he would start those guys.
Keep Batum coming off that bench. Cody's supposed to come back, but honestly, I would experiment more with Frank as the 5, and just to kind of open things up a little more, and then just having Miles and
so Frank is coming back to Charlotte in your book.
If you bring Kemba back, you got to bring back Frank. You got to at least put the qualifier on.
I think they'll put the offer out there, but they won't match
if it's too high.
If it's another team, and other teams will be interested in a 7 guy who shoots 37% from 3-point line. I know Frank has a lot of haters in Charlotte, but he is what he is at this point in his career. I can think of a bunch of teams. You think Dallas wouldn't like a 7-foot guy that can, shoot 37%? So, my thing with the Kemba Walker free agency paradox, there is no paradox. You have to sign Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
So there's a stat. Those of you who follow me in the Hornets group know that I love to tout. I call it the 4% rule. If you look at all the first-round draft picks, and we'll go back to the point at which Jordan took over the Hornets/Bobcats.
Right.
So going back almost 10 years now. If you look at all of the first-round draft picks, only 5% of them have ever made one All-Star game.
Right.
Yeah.
Only 4%
That's
of
a
them.
low number.
Yeah, that's a low number.
Very low.
Only 4% have ever made an All-NBA team, and only 3% have done both of those.
Right.
Kemba Walker could be a 3%er. Right now, he's a 5%er.
Right.
And he's made multiple. 5%. He's made multiple All-Star games. You cannot replace him.
Right.
You cannot. It could be another. And I know we have a lot of faith in, Miles Bridges, Devontae Graham, Dwayne Bacon. They're going to be really good NBA players, but you're just not going to get another Kemba Walker.
Right.
You're just not. And the crux of the issue is if we don't re-sign Kemba, okay, so we might have some extra cap space, but who's going to come play for us? There's nobody to play with unless Bacon or Bridges has an all-star season, which no one foresees. So I think you have to keep Kemba Walker, and I don't think that Kemba Walker's been a leader his entire career as a basketball player, going all the way back to high school.
Okay.
I don't see him saying, I want to win so bad to where I'm willing to ride LeBron or KD's coattails, especially since realistically, he would probably be, although he shouldn't be, but he would be the second choice to someone like, say, Kyrie.
Right.
If a team can't get Kyrie, well, then they're going to go over Kemba. That's not going to sit well with Kemba Walker.
And what goes back, right. What goes back to what I said before, like they're like free agency this summer is not going to center around him.
Mm-mm.
Now, for our fan base, it is, but as far as the league goes, like I've always believed Kyrie Irving is going to be the key for free agency. Like everybody's going to wait to see what he does first. And aside from that, like the article even mentions, Kemba Walker has said over and over again he wants to change it in Charlotte, and I just don't think that's mentioned enough when people are trying to figure out, well, what's he going to do? Where is he going to leave? Is he going to stay? You know what I mean? I've said it before. Mitch Kupchak has some work cut out for him, man. He's got to work some magic. He's got to work some magic. But as far as us being screwed, man, I just don't believe it is as gloom and doom as people say. Again, the numbers don't, the financial numbers don't look great. But on the basketball court, I just don't think it's as gloom and doom as people think it is.